Well, joining us now to also discuss, well, not just the security situation precisely, but the state of the IDPs as the internally displaced persons is Olisemeka Emmanuel. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, he is the country director of Social Welfare Network Initiative, and you've been doing some work. Well, I'm sure it's a lot of work in Maiduguri and the environs. How would you say that the IDPs are faring these days?
Let me situate it within the international coalition spectrum, because that seems to be the only thing we have right now. The national coordinating mechanism is yet to be, kick off, because I believe most likely they've been waiting for the presidential committee for the Northeast, whose mandates have spanned beyond what the victim support funds was doing before. So I think hitherto it was a huge task for either at the state level or at the NEMA level, where they were not very sure who should coordinate. I think so. Where the oncoming of the PCNI should be able to give some sense of direction, given their mandate. But at the level of the international coalition, which the UN system, the OCHA and co coordinates, we have a fantastic, working relationship within the INGOs, the UN system, and of course a few local NGOs like ours that are working with them. So, because I know that food assistance is constantly on the increase right now, there's serious scale-up of activities. We've moved to Goza and Pulka. We've taken over Goza and Pulka on their behalf, and we're doing food distribution to over 66,000 IDPs within the two locations. The military is doing a fantastic job to enable us even do that, because if that place was not in the hands of the military, there's no way we would be able to do food distribution. They're talking about 10 trailers and what have you, and spanning from Maiduguri to that location. So I believe so far I can say that with the assistance from the UN system, from the international NGOs and a few local NGOs who are working, who are seriously in the field, the IDPs are beginning to get some sense of relief, unlike what you had in the past where they were not sure. So, for example, what we do is
By the past, you mean how recently? Because you recall that we only saw that story even in the heart of Maiduguri, where IDPs took to the streets to protest the fact that they were not getting the food that was meant for them, and that they wanted to be able to beg their way if they couldn't get what it was that the government should provide.
The IDPs in Maiduguri were able to stage the protest, and you saw it because you were in Maiduguri. You are not in Dikwa, you're not in Moba, you're not in Goza, you're not in Pulka, you're not in Gubio, you're not in Damasak, you're not in Benishek. There are IDPs all across these places. There are IDPs in Bama.
But
there are no cameras there.
When IDPs in Borno, in Maiduguri, the heart of the city, begin to protest, you have to ask questions as to
what's happening to the other ones.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to say, that the IDPs in Maiduguri they're having fun, if I can say. So if they got to the point where
they're having fun when they're only fed once a day,
they're having fun in comparison, to the IDPs that are in the other localities. There are 27 local governments in the entire Borno state. And today, the liberated local government that you can say is somewhat accessible are 16 in number. And when you say they are accessible, it simply means that the military have done some major clearing. So you can come in with some level of humanitarian assistance within those local governments. And yes, there are. A lot of them is very difficult accessing them without the military escort, except for, say, Mongonu and probably Gubio. The rest of them, you must go with the military escort.
Now, that's why I asked you, you know, when you say compared with the past, what past are you speaking of? Is it
recent past?
A month ago, 6 months ago?
Well, let me take a slight longer latitude within the last 4 months.
Within the last 4 months.
Yes.
So you're saying that
there's
things
have some improvements as a result of scale-up activities of the UN systems, okay, and the international NGOs plus the local NGOs working within, that fold. So also that has also pushed the government. To the extent I know that the State Emergency Management Agency in Borno State, they are doing what they can within their limited capacity I can use that word. Because, you know, when I talked about, last time I was asked, I talked about the MOU signed between the State Emergency Management Agency and the National Emergency Management Agency. You know, these provision of foodstuff and, of course, condiment and all that. And what brought about this riot, the protest you talked about, was because they were not getting food, or they get food, there's no condiment and all that. Still tomorrow, you still have those issues. But now, the scale-up activities of this international coalition has helped to somewhat mitigate some of these challenges. But you still have issues of condiments, because the condiment was exclusive, you know, preserve of the state government, and they are yet to, you know, get a hang of it. So, but I believe that because it will be clear, if I distribute on behalf of WFP, for example, 10 days food ration to IDPs, and I give them the 10 days ration of the rice, beans, oil, and the rest, what are they going to cook it with? I've done my job, I've given my report, and it can be verified. And these guys can't cook this food without...
But by condiments, you're talking about salt and pepper?
Talking about salt, pepper, you know, the ingredients to cook the meal, because the idea of food assistance is that, one, you don't have markets yet.